Hi, everybody. We're going to get started here in just a second. We're waiting for some people to jump on, as well as I think Elaine's having a little bit of technical difficulties, but we'll hope that she can jump back on here in a second. But we'll get started in just one second. Just a second. Got people coming into the waiting room here. Great to see everybody. We got a great turnout today. Thank you. All right. Let's hope Elaine's able to join here in a sec. Great. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Elaine just had some technical difficulties again. Hopefully she can
Dave,
jump
can
back
you turn the
on.
air just lightly? It's so hot. You gotta crawl on the floor.
One second there. Awesome. Okay, well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. We're doing Artists and Crafters Best Practices for Working with Large Events. My name's Kyle, and I'm going to be moderating today's session. And we are proudly hosted by ACT Insurance, which specializes in artist and crafter insurance. Whether you're just getting started in the festivals or looking to elevate your current setup to large-scale events, you come to the right place with a great panel of experts. Quick shout out to ACT Insurance. We're dedicated to supporting actor or artists, crafters, and makers at every stage of their journey. And that's why we're putting on this series to really share some insights into best practices for starting and growing your businesses. Um, it looks like we got Elaine back on. Awesome. So joining us today, we're really excited to have this great panel of guests. First, we have Elaine Laurent, head director at Howard Allen Events, one of the leading producers of fine arts and craft festivals in the country. Howard Allen Events produces more than 40 fine art events and 40 craft events annually. So, a really great company, and we're honored to have them. We're also joined by two talented artists who are going to share a little bit about their journey in growing their business. First is Bonnie Ruffin, excuse me. She's a one-of-a-kind acrylic fine art painter who has built a thriving business showcasing her original art at live events, much like those created by Howard Allen Events. And Evan Reinheimer, a professional aerial photographer whose striking work has been featured at festivals across the country. So how this is going to go is we're going to start with a guided discussion covering everything from applying to shows, creating eye-catching booth experiences, pricing, marketing, just kind of just a conversation on best practices, as well as we're going to have a live audience Q&A at the end. So stick around. Go ahead and drop those questions at any time throughout the panel discussion in that chat button, Q&A, I think it's called. If you just drop them in there, we'll try to get to them as soon as we can. We have some pre-sent to us that we'll address as well. But with that, I'd love to get started. So thank you guys for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So
Thank you.
why don't we start with some quick introductions? We can start with you, Elaine. Will you give us a little bit of background on you and how you fit into the industry and Howard Allen?
Well, I was actually an artist for over 17 years, and I had started out in the American Craft Endeavors, which is Howard Allen's craft section. And then as my work graduated, I went up into the art section, and Debbie Allen convinced me to work for them probably about 8 years ago. And so I worked as a coordinator and still an artist for a couple years, and then moved on to being the head director. I also do media buying and site finding and everything else with Howard Allen events. So
Awesome. Well, it sounds like wealth of knowledge, which we really appreciate you joining today.
25 years of experience in the industry. So
Well, let's have the audience pick your brain then. Bonnie, why don't you give us a quick intro?
Hi guys, my name's Bonnie Ruffin. Unlike Elaine, I'm relatively new to the Howard Allen circuit. I am a self-taught painter. Grew up in upstate New York, very inspired by the outdoor scenery, not only in upstate New York, but here where I live now in Florida. A lot of my paintings, intuitive paintings, kind of what I see, what I feel is what comes out. Everything I do is hand painted and one of a kind.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. We're excited to
Yeah.
hear about your journey. Evan, could you give us a little background and intro on yourself?
Yeah, of course. So as Kyle said, I'm an aerial photographer. I do a unique kind of aerial photography where I use traditional kites to lift my camera into the sky to take my photographs. I've been doing art festivals for 18 years now, since my early 20s, and started doing small local shows up where I lived in New York, and then expanded every year just a little bit more, more, and now I go all over the country participating in fine art festivals.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us. I think this will be fun and really informative for our audience. Again, go ahead and drop your questions into that Q&A chat, and we'll get to them at the end, but we'll jump into kind of our discussion here. So we know that art festivals are a major way to showcase your work, obviously create revenue, create relationship with clients. A lot of our audience today shared that they are just getting into the business, looking at potentially taking their online business into the art festival world and working with world-class events like the ones produced by Howard Allen Events and many others. So I guess let's start with, for those really looking at this for the first time, Elaine, would you give us kind of a background on the application process? Well, I guess how to identify what events might be good for you, and then what the application process is kind of like. And then furthermore, what you might look for as a large scale event producer when looking at applications.
So I think there's some really good Facebook pages like Art Fair Lounge and stuff that can give you ideas on everything from your booth display to what shows you might want to join in on. So you can do a little Q&A with people on there. They're very helpful. For most of the applications, they are done on zapplication.org. It is an online application process, as well as Juried Art Services. It's another application online process. When I tell everybody this, when you're applying to a show, that's your resume. If you cheat on your resume or shortcut your resume, you're shortcutting your options to get in the show. So your photographs of your artwork, the photos of your booth and display should be well thought out and well put together. Don't just throw your booth up and put stuff on the walls. Make this look like a gallery. Make it your best booth you can possibly do and use that as your application. Also make sure that the booth that you do apply with is the one that you will show up with, because that's a big thing with most of the bigger ones, the bigger events, is that what you apply with, the booth is part of your jury scoring. If you have amazing work and a terrible booth, you can get bypassed for people with equal quality work with a better booth. So you want to make sure that your resume, all your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted. Make this the best possible. And then read the information about the show. If it says originals only and you sell more prints, don't apply to that show. If it has craft in it and you're a fine art and don't want to do anything with craft in it, if the categories look like they're craft categories, don't apply to that. But also ask questions. You can send notes to the events, to their directors, to their staff, and ask questions. So be the inquisitive bug, ask your questions, and put your best foot forward.
I love that. I appreciate that. Turning to our artists on the call, maybe we'll start with you, Evan. Have you always done shows? Did you kind of start from like an online presence or a social media presence and then move into shows? What made you really want to get onto the show circuit?
So it's interesting you phrase it that way, because you initially mentioned a lot of artists had questions about taking their online business into shows. And for a lot of people who are doing shows full time now, like myself, we're kind of doing a little bit of the other way. Like, I started doing fine art shows, and then because of my fine art shows, had to build a website and do my e-commerce website, because people were wanting to purchase things after art festivals too. So when I started, online art buying, especially in the early 2000s, was not very common, and it's still a growing thing. But I started doing art festivals first. I actually started not even doing art festivals. I was doing a rotating artist program in the town where I lived, where as a participating member, every month we would hang our artwork in businesses around the town. And then people started calling and saying like, oh, I would like to buy this picture that you have here. How do I do that? And that had never even crossed my mind. I had been to art festivals before, but I started thinking, well, those art festivals and craft festivals that I like to go to, maybe I could have a booth there, and maybe that's a way for me to make money through my artwork. And so I started doing small local shows near where I lived, and just started very small and very local, and just kind of grew at a slow pace from that.
That's awesome. So, and turned it into a full-time thing, which is
Yep.
awesome. Bonnie, would you share a little bit about your journey of your business and how you got into the festival side?
Absolutely. I feel like my journey is a little different than Evan's. I kind of started out at the gate like a shot. I didn't expect it to take off the way it did. I entered as an emerging artist, a local art festival, and didn't feel like we all probably go through, didn't feel like I was good enough or anybody would like my unique artwork. And soon to find out, after my first day there, I just was encouraged by fellow artists that were there, gave me great advice to keep going, just keep going, try again. And yeah, 2 weeks later, I jumped into a Howard Allen event and
No,
it changed my life.
that's amazing.
Yes.
Can you share a little bit about that first like identification of what festival you might want to be a part of or what event, and then what that first application process was like? Were you nervous? Did you expect anybody to help you out, provide some insight?
No, I just, I went for it. I actually saw it advertised on the news and, I just wanted to try. I said, you know, that you can't be in it unless you're in it. So I put my name in and, I was picked and, just kind of went from there.
That's awesome.
I filled out the application. It was very easy on the application, self-explanatory. I did not have some of the things that probably most people have when they're entering. I didn't have that website going yet. You know, I didn't have the lighting. There's just so much that goes into it, you know, but I just went for it. And I've just been a big sponge trying to learn from other artists like Evan. And of course, Elaine has been an immense help to me. But yeah.
That's awesome. No, I appreciate that. Elaine, I'm curious, I know it obviously varies per event and all of that. I think some of our audience is curious if what are their odds of getting accepted, and is there any words of encouragement of if you're not, try again? Anything you can share in terms of that acceptance rate or, being waitlisted, things like that?
Well, it all depends on the application. If we get an application in and we feel like the art is amazing and the booth is not, we are going to send them a note off of Zap that basically says, we're in receipt of this. These are the things that are on our that are required. So we give them an option to correct it. We also 2 to 3 weeks out start making phone calls to those who we have sent the email to explain what the requirements are so they understand it. So
Mhm.
that's been pretty helpful with getting people in. But I was looking at, for some reason, I asked Melinda, our marketing director, to give me the new artists for the last 12 months or whatever. And I think we had close to over 700 brand new exhibitors that were in our shows. And that's huge. That's huge. So the percentage of getting in is pretty high, but you
Mhm.
do have to be a little pliable in working around our regulations and our restrictions on booths. We don't allow draped tables. There's a lot of things we don't allow. But we also are very fortunate to have the tent guys that work with us. They're a rental tent company, so they can rent tents and walls. And a lot of people have just used them to get their booth shot even because they can go set up in their place. So we have a high rate of newer artists getting in, and we have a very high rate of them applying. They will also send in their information to the office and ask it to be critiqued. So that way they know what what they have to do to correct their displays or whatever in order to make the application run through.
I think that's great. I mean, that's encouraging, right? It sounds like try, much to Bonnie's point, is take the leap and you might be able to just jump in here quickly. I don't usually pull from the questions as we go, but I think this is pertinent. We already had two of them addressing this. Can you, Elaine, maybe this is for you or potentially the rest of the panel. How do you decide if you should apply for an art or a craft festival? How do you distinguish between the two?
It depends. Like if you're to potter, if you do functional pottery, you're more likely to be craft. If you do non-functional pottery, you're more apt to be art. If you are a photographer that only prints small prints and that's it, or you're fairly new in it, you're most likely going to be on the craft category. If you paint and you're a mid to lower range painter, you paint with the skinny canvas as opposed to the large gallery wrap. You have more prints or this. It's I guess it's kind of hard to explain, but there's a craft feel to it. Your booth is not really professional. You're in that stage of growing, but you haven't grown yet. It's good to start in the craft section. You can also send in the information to the office and say, hey, would this be for your art or craft? And we're going to tell you which one it's for.
Awesome. And yeah, I think that very much answers the question. And of course, please put some more questions in our Q&A here and we'll try to address them. But I appreciate that because we have a couple of people asking. So we've already kind of talked about, you've applied, but part of that application is designing your booth, right? And I think this is a very important area of the business you guys are in. And so I'll open this one, maybe start with Evan and then kind of work our way down. But what have you found works best in creating a visually inviting booth? Do you have any booths set up just right off the bat, recommendations to share with our audience?
Absolutely. The biggest thing I see, especially with newer artists where they're making mistakes, is just keep your booth design and layout simple. It should be set up like a gallery. This is your gallery space. A lot of times, and I'm going to call out photographers here, a lot of times I see, especially photographers, filling every square inch of wall space with images and, well, I have to hang 30 pieces in my booth. And I think that's a big mistake. You're contributing to giving people too many choices. You want a nice, if you go into a museum or a gallery, typically there's one sight line of work across the walls. And that's a good place to start your booth design. Is simplify, only hang the best of the best. You don't have to hang every single piece of artwork that you've brought with you or that you've ever made. A simple, nicely curated, cohesive body of work on the walls is really best. The pieces don't have to look like each other, but they should make sense that they would all fit in with each other as if the same artist made them, because the same artist did make them all.
Mhm. Interesting. Bonnie, I'll turn this to you because we were sharing ahead of this kind of a fun story with Elaine of you kind of getting into it and your booth really evolving. Can you
Oh,
share a bit about that evolution and how, what you learned and where you're
well,
at today?
sure. My very first festival, my booth was a mess. I bought a used tent and panels, thought I had a full set of panels and was completely missing the back wall. So I just had two huge 5-foot pieces flying in the wind. So yeah, very important. I completely agree with Evan. Gallery feel, less is more. Keep it clean, keep it simple. I used to try exactly like Evan said, I had to have every single piece that I'd done on the walls, and it looked like a mess. I've really pared down. Everything is very clean, very symmetrical. My booth is open. People can walk through freely, not overdone. I think less really is more.
Awesome. And we see another question there. Do you offer any takeaways to try like marketing ways to try and get them to take perhaps a catalog or follow you on social media? Is there anything you do from that perspective as a part of your booth experience?
I do like to hang, Scantrons. That's a
Mhm.
great way for people to, maybe access your social medias and your website. I also like to give everyone a card, hey, if you're thinking about me later, or if you're going along the festival, sometimes they're pretty big and you lose me, take this with you. I also I have a little pro panels desk where I keep a book for people to sign in, maybe give me a little comment, mostly collect emails. So it's a great way to reach back out to people after the show.
That's a great idea. And we'll get more a
Mhm.
little bit into marketing. I just thought that was relevant to what you were saying.
Mhm.
Elaine, I have a question for you here from the event producer side. What types of booths really stand out to you, especially in that application process? But then on site, which ones have you seen evolved? Any tips you have to make them really, successful?
Yeah, I think Evan hit on one of the biggest ones, and that is do not saturate your booth. If they walk in, they should be able to look at each and individual piece as just that, an individual piece that is not touching or crowded by another piece. And photographers are some of the worst at it. And then painters who do smaller or mass multiple size paintings have a bad habit of that. Let the painting, let the photography, even the jewelry, do not saturate a jewelry case, because then they cannot come in and look at individual pieces. I have several jewelers that I have to go by every now and then and go, all right, we got to lighten the load, ladies. Come on, you got to take some of this out, because they get in that habit. Um, keep your booth looking like a gallery. Keep a flow. If you have print bins, do not have them in the way of the flow of your traffic. Bonnie does a great job where everybody just flows right through her booth. It looks elegant. It's really nice. Evan, same thing. Evan's got a very tall booth. That's another thing that really stands out. A lot of the exhibitors have grown. The joke I always say is go big or go home. Well, too many of them have, and now we have all these tall booths, but they showcase your work beautifully because a lot of these homes have tall walls. So it's keeping it really clean for us. That's what we look for. We look for a booth that is not oversaturated. Do not put any work leaning on the ground. If you don't respect your work enough, why would they? And also, you know, when you're doing your booth shot, make sure that everything is, you know, in line. If you have two different colored frames that you use and different sizes that you use, try and make it where it all blends together so that the eye flows comfortably through the booth without getting stuck or being overwhelmed.
Got it. That's all really good advice. I appreciate that. And so we've talked about at this point, this is a great transition, making sure it's not overcrowded, but you know, elegant, showcasing, you can look at individual pieces. How do you plan? I guess maybe we'll start with Evan. How do you plan for an inventory for a large show, right? I mean, how do you pick which pieces? Do you bring enough to replace? Kind of what's your inventory process?
Well, I do change what I show depending on the geographic area a bit. I don't bring the exact same work to every single show, but I have a big van. I'm sitting in it right now at a show setting up, and um, I try and curate it to the area that I'm showing in. And if a piece sells off the wall, I usually have, if I don't have a second of that same piece, because my work is photography, it's in editions, if I don't have a second piece of that to hang up, I usually do have another piece I can get out of my van, or I will move things around in the booth so I don't have a big gaping hole in my wall. Even though it might look impressive, like, oh, he sold a big piece off the wall, it kind of disrupts that sight flow that Elaine and Bonnie were talking about, that you want to keep in your booth to keep things, you know, looking like they belong there and not like you just didn't bring enough work with you, possibly.
That's interesting. But yeah, Bonnie, any thoughts on how you plan your inventory for your shows?
Work really hard. Don't take a day off. I'm not joking. I'm if I'm not at a festival, I'm painting. I'm painting every day. I've been blessed enough to sell 13 pieces at one show. And thank God, one of the number one tips Elaine gave me, always bring extra work with you. So my van, like Evan, big van, I can probably, if I wanted to max out my booth, hang 16 pieces, but I keep about 25 pieces in my booth at all times. So if I do have a show where I do great and I sell a bunch of huge pieces that day, I can move things around, add new things, and try to keep that really nice gallery feel, everything symmetric and clean. Like Evan said, you don't want a huge hole missing on your wall, you know, so you kind of bring extra work and work, work, work.
I think that's all really smart. Elaine, anything to add on the inventory stuff per your long experience?
Yeah, my Bonnie just touched on that too. One thing to remember is, you know, especially for new exhibitors, this is just a technique that they need to, and I know Evan probably knows this one as well. If you have people in your booth and they're looking at your work, offer to bring it to their home, no matter what. Offer to bring it to their home. If they say yes, it is at least a 98% sale. So be prepared to take stuff off your wall at night, bring it to people's home. And as Bonnie has learned, never bring just what they ask for. Bring as much similar work via size, via color, via, you know, whatever the object in the painting is. Bring as many as you can. She has brought and I think sold like 5 at one night or more because she's brought
It's
multiple.
very typical. That's very typical. They'll purchase one piece and you know, I'll get there and they'll start talking to me and say, you know, I don't know what I'm going to put over here. Oh, great. Well, I have these pieces. Would you like to see them? I bring them in and I would probably say 95% of the time I'm able to upsell.
I think that might be one of the greatest takeaways for our audience today. That is an awesome statistic and a great idea that I don't think I've ever been offered at an art show that
Yeah,
I probably would have.
going to people's homes is great. It gives them a way to see your work in their space. And as Bonnie said, so many times I've gone over and people want to see one thing and you end up selling 3, 4, 5, 6 things. In 18 years of doing this, I can literally think of 3 times I went to someone's
Exactly.
house and they bought nothing. 3
Exactly.
times in 18 years, and almost at every show I at least go to one home. It extends your day and it's exhausting and stuff, but it's just part of it.
That's a really great piece of advice. Be open to that, it sounds like. Let's talk a little bit about pricing. And I know this is individual to everyone. Obviously, it's a unique category. Can you share any, maybe we'll start with you, Evan, any pricing? Do you change prices per show? Do you set those? Do you negotiate? Is there any pricing tips you can give to those kind of getting into this and worried about that?
So my pricing remains the same at every show. It's the same on my website. It's the same at a show, because I would never want someone to buy something from me at a art show, then go on my website and see, oh, I could have saved, $500 if I bought this from his website. So the price is always the same. The price is also the same show to show, because you'll start seeing a lot of the same people. I'll see the same people at 3 different shows sometimes before they buy one thing. So I wouldn't want them to say, whoa, this was X amount 2 weeks ago and now it's Y amount, either less or more. That said, I do raise my prices, especially recently, as the cost of doing this business has increased, particularly lately. So my prices do go up over time, which is also a good selling point. You can say to someone, if they're, kind of on the fence and it's coming to the end of the year or coming to a price raise time, I can say, like, well, I'm going to be raising my prices in the next 2 months. So keep that in mind while you're thinking about this. So you really should keep your prices the same at every show and on your website.
Interesting. Bonnie, do you follow that same
I
strategy?
completely agree. I completely agree with what Evan said. My prices are the same across the board, whether you are in the Hamptons or we are local here in Florida or you're on my website, they are the same. I feel like it's just not, it's easier for everyone, I think, as the artist and as the customer. You don't want to go to a festival this week and then next week see, oh gosh, I should have bought that. It's $1,000 less. Or I just think it works out better for everyone. It seems more professional. Everything is on the board the same.
And how do you deal with people who attempt to haggle with you? Is that something that you
Ah,
deal
that's
with?
probably one of my best tidbits of advice Elaine gave me that I would love to share. Know your worth. Know your worth. People are going to come in and they're going to offer you a fraction of what you are worth. And in the beginning, that was hard for me. I was excited that, to sell something. So I was pretty much, oh, I'll give it away type of thing. But no, I really did. I had to learn that. Now I know my worth. And yes, I have my prices someplace that I feel comfortable. And me personally, I have them priced so that if I do want to give maybe a small discount, I'm still walking away knowing that I have a fair price and I feel good and they feel good.
That's great.
Yeah, Bonnie said exactly there. Know your worth, and also try not to be insulted if people offer you insultingly low offers. I'm the opposite now. Like, I feel like when someone offers me an insultingly low offer, instead of being offended now, I think it's really funny. And it's like, absolutely not. Like, my price is the price. When people purchase multiple pieces from me, I can work a little bit of a deal around that. But never make a deal or offer a discount that you will be upset that you made in the future. Never sell for a price that you will regret or you will feel bad about on the way home that night, because I've been there and it's not worth it. So the price is the price. If you want to buy 2, 3, we'll talk. But I don't go to the store, and then it's different because I understand you're on the street, you're in a tent. It's more of it's a different type of retail space than a brick and mortar store or a gallery is. But you don't go to the store and say, well, I really like this lamp, but I only want to give you this much for it. Your artwork is the same and it's fairly priced and you're valuable. So, don't do things you'll be upset with.
Yeah, that's really great advice. I mean, I think they spoke for you and probably your opinion, Elaine, but anything to add there?
Yeah, I think, Bonnie, you too hit it right on the nose. Know your worth, know your value. And I like what Evan just said about don't make the deal you're gonna regret. There's nothing worth selling yourself short for the talent that you have. But I've also told our exhibitors over and over again, be excited about your work, because if you're not, why are they gonna be?
Mm.
So, and Bonnie, I mean, I've seen Bonnie, I've seen Evan, both of them build rapport with their patrons and their clients and their buyers. They build a rapport. So it's, the worth is there in the rapport that they build, the quality of the work and their presentation there. So know your worth and don't make a deal you're gonna regret.
And be
I gotta remember
confident.
that one, Evan.
Yeah,
I gotta remember that one.
be confident in your pricing too. If someone asks you the price, don't be like, oh, it's $100. Just be like, it's $100. Like, this is, even if you've never sold a piece for $100 before, and to you that might be a lot of money, just act like you've been there before. It's
That's
$100.
great advice,
This
Evan.
this is a fact. This is
Mhm.
not like, oh, it's 100. It's like, oh, it's just $100. It's 100.
Yep, I used to do that.
The
I broke you of
the
that
way
one.
Yes, you did.
the way you state your price also it sets up that dynamic too. And also, when you give someone a deep discount that you're uncomfortable with, that person is going to expect that every time they come back to purchase from you, and that's a bad place to be. When they're coming expecting, oh, this guy gave me 50% off last time, I know I can get another piece for 50% off. They're going to expect that every single time. When people come back and they buy multiple pieces from me again, a small collector appreciation discount is sometimes in order, but that guy who got it for 50% off will always come back and always expect that.
Well, Evan, you hit on something really important, and that is speaking your pricing and stuff with confidence. And I think I told this to Bonnie in the beginning, as well as thousands of artists. When somebody asks you your pricing, first and foremost, don't just blurt out the price. Don't say and don't look away. Look them directly in the eye. Give them a short spurt of it's one of a kind. This is the style. The price is 2,500 and the size is. Please note, I can also do some custom orders or, commissions. You want to justify that price, say it in there with a confidence.
That is
A
great.
perfect
In the
short
beginning,
short
I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, repeat what Elaine said, a short description of the piece and what makes it special, 5 seconds. This is a 40 by 60 edition of this piece. It is printed on whatever material. It's a acrylic mounted photograph, whatever it is. This is the price.
Yeah.
It's available larger and smaller. If you do things like that for, I'm speaking from a photography perspective, it would be different for paintings, obviously.
Mhm.
Did you have something to add there, Bonnie?
I did. In the beginning, I just want to preface how important it is what you say in your booth, because in the beginning they would say, oh, what is the price of this piece? Well, I'm asking $100. No, I'm not asking anything. This is the price. And like Evan said, tell you a little bit about the piece, and this is the price, and this is what's included, and that's it.
Your
Just
price
be
is a fact.
confident.
It's not
You're
a
not
suggestion.
asking. This is the price. And I had to learn that. And I think that, if anybody's listening and they are new going out to try this, that's something to really keep in mind. Think about what you're saying, how you say it. You're not asking, this is your price. Know your worth.
Really phenomenal advice, guys. Thank you so much. And,
Mhm.
coming off of that, just one more question from the financial side that we're getting. How do you financially plan for goals for an event? And is it to be expected there'll be certain bad events that you don't do well at, and some are significantly better? Any words of wisdom you can share to that?
I don't consider it a bad event. I always consider, say, if I didn't sell, I consider it a marketing experience. It's a marketing, there's thousands of people out there seeing my work. Maybe I didn't sell something at this show, but I'll get a call a month later, 6 months later, somebody, matter of fact, saw me last year, calling me last week asking about a piece. So you never know. You have to look at it as a marketing event. And maybe, yes, you did put money into it, but that money you put into your booth fee, if you put that into a marketing campaign, I'm sure you're probably going to spend a lot more. I just think it's just a more positive way to look at it. When you may not have had a great weekend, just think of it that way. It's a marketing expense.
Love that.
Absolutely. You're planting these seeds with collectors that will flourish in the future. So Bonnie said she's had someone come back a year later to buy something. I've had people come back who have seen me for 10 years
Wow.
and just out of the blue. And this is something that really started to flourish after I had been doing shows about 10 years. People, when I would have breaks in shows, I would get calls or purchases on my website of people who saw me 3 years ago. And people they would call me up or send me an email or buy something on my website and send me a message and be like, oh yeah, we saw you at this show and we've been, we're now moved to a new home. And I think I haven't done that show in 5 years. They've hung on to my information for that long. And it's just, it's a snowball effect. The more art shows you do, the more you're out there, the more you're in front of people. This also builds trust with people because they see that you're not just a rando in a tent. You're
Yeah.
there consistently.
It's all really great advice. So speaking of, you said this is even if it's not the best show, it's a marketing expense, right? Let's
Yep.
talk a bit about marketing because it's a lot of the questions we're getting in, and I think everybody wants to grow their business, and you guys who have done this successfully, let's break it into sections prior to an event, and if you're just getting involved in a annual show, a weekly show, a monthly show, whatever it might be, or you've been in one. Is there any strategies you have with promoting your business or your attendance at a show in conjunction with the organizer before being on site? Anyone throw that to either of you?
Always. It is unbelievably important to keep up with, as much as you may not like it, social media and just posting that you're out there creating work that you're going to be showing at this show coming up. And then my biggest suggestion to artists is always keep a mailing list, an email list. It is like printing money to have those people, even if it's a very short list, a very small list. These are people who have already seen your work. They already know you. They already know what you're about. So you never have to sell them on you as the artist again. All you have to do is remind them that you exist, tell them when you're going to be showing, where you're going to be showing, and they will either show up or they will see that email saying, oh, like this week I'm at a show in New York. I sent out an email saying, oh, I'm going to be at this show in New York. I had people who saw me at a show in Texas 3 years ago say, oh yeah, that guy Evan, he's still out there. I liked his work. This reminds me, I wanted to go on my website and get this new piece that we had been thinking about. It'll remind people who might not even come to the show that you exist. And during the pandemic, when there were no art shows, that was the lifeline for a lot of artists, were our collectors email list. It is important. These people want to hear from you. You're not bothering them. It is super important.
I can tell you I work in marketing across industries, and email surprisingly is one of the most effective ways, and people they have no problem giving out their email, especially for things they're interested in. So I overly agree with that. Bonnie, anything
Absolutely.
you'd share about pre-promotion for shows?
I would say it's really important. I'm doing a show this weekend and I just did a huge email blast, like Evan said, reaching out. And I would say, even more important, social media. Post, post, post. I mean, every day post. I don't care if people are sick of me, you're going to see me, you're going to know where I am. I mean, that's just the way it is. Work hard, post every day. I think social media is so important. Post your work, post where you're going to be.
And Elaine, I wonder from the event organizer perspective, do you look for vendors who help with that type of promotion or to do, does that affect anything on your side?
So, yeah, I mean, it does somewhat. We have a thing we send out on Wednesdays. Melinda's our marketing director. Melinda is, I call her awesome sauce. She is one of the most amazing people who is so hands-on. She created our lookbook, which is a website and social media little phenomenon where people can actually flip and look through the book and see who's going to be at the show along with their information. She is probably one of the most hands-on with promoting the artist. Bonnie, no kidding. You see her every single day, all day. She flips through. But I know where Bonnie's going to be. I know what work she's working on. Melinda will send out on Wednesdays. She sends out a social media reminder to the artists that are in the shows, and she has an entire email full of tools. Everything from prefabricated things you just pop your art into. We have, I believe, 47,000 followers on Facebook, and we have like 11,000 on Instagram. She has everything set up where it automatically reposts on our sites for you. So whatever publications you're doing to promote yourself at that show, she's also then re-promoting you for your work at that show. It is beyond important. I can't tell you how many exhibitors have come up to me and said, due to my post or my social media brought these in, your social media, they saw me on your social media and they came in and bought this.
Yeah.
It's
No,
important.
I think so. And you know, you hope that there's people coming to this, but you can't just hope that you're going to grab attention. You've got to be a part of the ecosystem. And I think that that's really important.
Another big thing that a lot of artists don't understand too, and I know that Evan and a lot of our jewelers and Bonnie, when you send out your e-blast with your patrons, reminding them that you're going to be at that show, they may come and say hi to you and tell you how much they love their work that they bought and then buy from somebody else. And the other somebody else's patrons may do the same thing. So it becomes a network of people who know art, like art, have purchased art coming back to the show, whether they're coming specifically for who emailed them or not. And it's really important.
Yep, I always think if every artist kept an email list and only got 5 people to come to the show because of them, in a show where there's 200 artists, that's a tremendous amount of extra people that will come to that show just because the artists all sent an email.
And they're interested in art because they're on our
Yes.
email
Yep.
list. It's really smart.
Very
So
important.
that's pre-promotion. Let's talk about while you're on site. Obviously, there's a lot of people who come through, certain artists for certain people, but I'm sure there's a certain sales tactic or marketing yourself tactic at the show. Can you give any advice on site, what you do to either attract people to your booth, how you speak to them while you're in there? Are you pushy? Do you stand back? Any advice that we'll start maybe Bonnie and then we'll go Evan and get Elaine's thoughts there at the end from the organizer standpoint.
Yeah, that's something I really had to learn. When I starting out last year, I would be so excited to see someone go in my booth. I'm running after them, and I kind of had to learn, lay back a little bit. Don't be so desperate. Let them come in. Give them time to fall in love with the painting or the photography, whatever it is. Give them their space. Yeah, like I said, in the beginning, I thought I had to get up and run after every single person. Don't let anyone go on no, you can tell. You'll start to see who really does love your work. They want to talk to you. They want to stay. You don't have to attack. I think it's really a good way is just to welcome them. Say hello. How are you? Talk just like we're talking. Are you enjoying the festival today? Have you seen any cool art? Just start a conversation. Just start a conversation. You don't have to go in with a hard sell.
That's good. Evan, any thoughts there?
Yeah, good advice, Bonnie. And I do a kind of a mix of that. I always say hello to everyone who comes in my booth, and that's how I started. And then I use a technique called mirroring. And I will reflect the energy and the conversation style that I get back from that person as speaking personally about myself. And I also know a lot of other artists are very, very introverted. I am, despite what I come across, how I come across in my YouTube videos or at an art show or on this meeting now, speaking to people is not something I really am good at or enjoy. I much prefer to be quiet and reflective than out there speaking to people, but I'm playing a character. I'm acting when I'm at an art show. So if someone is really like, if I say, hi, how you doing today? And they're like, oh, great. We're doing this, we're doing this. I'll reflect that energy and that conversation style back to them to put us on the same level. And then if I say hello to someone and they're a little bit more quiet or reserved, then I'll be more quiet and reserved. And that helps the people you're speaking with feel more comfortable. It also helps me feel more comfortable instead of like, if I'm talking to someone who's super energetic and I'm just being my normal, like kind of quiet, reserved self, that's a weird dynamic to be in. So if I can raise my energy level or lower my energy level or just meet whoever I'm speaking with at their conversation style, that helps to make us both feel comfortable. And it's a tough thing to learn and a tough thing to practice, but just reflecting what you're getting back, I find to work for me. And it's going to be different for every person too.
That is
I
really
completely agree. You really have to kind of, I say, feel the room, you know?
And if someone really wants to talk to you about a piece and you've already introduced yourself, this is the important key to this is you have to say hello to them or introduce yourself in some way so that they know that you're the artist in the booth, you're the one in charge, you're the one that they should ask questions to if they need to. Saying, "Oh, if you have any questions, let me know," not always a great opening line.
That's very good tactic there. Elaine,
Just
anything
hello. That's the easiest.
anything you'd advise your event participants on the how to capture that relationship and sale in the booth?
Yeah, I do tell people to make sure their booth is inviting. Don't sit on the edge where you block it. Don't put anything in there to block it. Make your booth inviting to people. I know Bonnie and her husband sit across, and I know Evan has a little podium and he kind of stands behind it or beside it, but he's like, there's a huge opening in the booth to get in there and enjoy it. Don't stutter, and don't be shy. I cannot stress that enough. Be confident in your language with them. Be very engaging with them. Bonnie said it perfectly. Ask, hey, how you enjoying the show? Really, what kind of art did you see that you liked? Who was your favorite artist so far? Be very calm and very engaging, but not high pitched sales. If they are interested in your work, they are going to stay. They are going to ask you about it. A big thing with talking to people is to let them tell you what they like. Don't, go and point to your favorite. Let them gravitate for it and then try to introduce them to it. If somebody's looking at a beach scene, you can say something like that. Oh, what beach does this remind you of? Now you've just connected them to that piece with a memory. If they're like Bonnie has the kid, a girl swinging on a swing, and it's an older lady, she could say something like, oh, does that remind you of your granddaughter? Or your daughter when she was younger, something of that nature. You can connect them to that piece, which is also going to create more of a bond to it and more chances for sales for it.
Exactly. Exactly. I think that's one of the things that has made me so successful. I try to find that common ground with people when they come in and they're looking at a piece. I listen to what they say, explain why I made it, and usually, we really seem to connect there. And that connection with the artist, I think, really, for me at least, helps to sell the piece more than the piece itself. Once they know the meaning and it means something to them too, that's everything. That's the money right there.
I've also made the comment many times that they're not just buying what's on your walls, they're buying a piece of
Yes.
you. We have some artists that are grumpy, and I say nobody wants that energy to take home with
Yes.
them. You have to be excited and happy and if you're having the worst show ever and somebody says, hey, how's your show? You don't have to say my show is great. You can say this is a great show. I'm really having a wonderful time meeting so many amazing artists. You don't have to say I haven't sold anything yet. Never have a negative attitude because nobody wants to take that energy home. And they will remember Bonnie and they will remember Evan and say, do you remember when we met Evan at St. Armand's? Oh my gosh, what a great story he had behind this. They remember that. And that's what you want to let them take home with them.
That's the special thing about in-person outdoor art festivals that you don't get when you buy in a gallery or at like a big art fair is collectors get a personal relationship and get to meet the artists. And that's what makes art festivals unique and special, is that collectors connect with the actual artist who created the piece that they then take home.
Yeah, that's the magic, Evan. That's the magic right there.
That is all phenomenal advice. And it's interesting because we're answering a lot of our Q&A questions. Like for instance, our two that were mailed to us ahead of time. The question was how after a person looks at a piece of my jewelry and is likely to walk away, what can I do to get them to pull the trigger and buy the piece? And we kind of talked about some of those tactics. And then another one is I get a lot of booth traffic, delightful compliments, but often don't snag a sale. Is there a tactic or approach I can utilize to successfully move that interaction and finalize the sale? And I think you guys have shared some awesome tactics here, connecting with the pieces, things like that. Anything else you'd add on I think probably the biggest question of any artist is attending these shows, how can I sell more? But any other tips you could add to that, or do we
I would say for the jeweler who was asking about that, take that piece out and put it on them. Make them connect with it. For the person who said they're not getting a lot of sales, connect them with the pieces from now on. Just say hi. What does this remind you of? Make sure that you engage in a non-threatening or pushy way, but you can connect them to your work. If they can't connect to it, they're not going to want to take it home.
And this is the
thought.
same for a painter as well. They'll look at a piece and say, well, I'm not sure. And so something I like to offer is, my pieces are very large. So why don't I bring it over? Why don't I bring it over and let you see it in your space, in your light? Because
Or
95% of the time, if they get it there, they're going to love it,
and
So that's another way
simply
to maybe help close a sale.
simply ask for the sale. So many artists, and even in any kind of sales, they leave out that part. You have someone who liked a piece of jewelry and they were interested in it, and just say, would you like to take it home with you? It might be uncomfortable to say that at first, but just ask for the sale. That's the easiest way and the simplest, most straightforward way to closing it. And if they're hesitant or unsure, that'll tell you. But if you don't ask, you're not going to know. Just ask for the sale.
So good. Okay, one last little category before we get to our live questions here. So make sure everybody in the audience just put your questions and we'll try to get to them. We're running a little tight on time, but quickly, we just wanted to hear one piece of advice. We'll start with Bonnie, go to Evan, and then I want to hear from Elaine as well. What's one thing that you wish you knew going into this that would have helped you maybe avoid some mistakes or grow faster or quicker? Do you have just kind of that one piece of advice you would give to our audience here?
I sure do. For me, I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned, outline a clear sales policy. Make sure when you're giving your receipts, it is clearly outlined. Whatever your policy is, it's on your website, whatever. Make sure that it is defined, it is clear. That I think was one of my biggest lessons learned. Trusting that, I had to learn not to be just an artist, but to be a businesswoman. So to me, that would be my number one tip to you. Have a clearly outlined sales policy available on your receipts as well as your website.
Mm-hmm. That's really, it's something we didn't even talk about during this. That's really smart. Evan, any kind of major lessons learned or tips you'd share with our audience?
I mean, for people just getting started, just do it. Just get out there, do an event, do a small event, start small. Your booth doesn't have to be the perfect grand booth that someone like me who's been doing this nearly 20 years has. You can start simple and you're going to learn. I'm still, after 18 or so years now, every show I'm learning new things. I'm changing something. I'm getting that 1% better with every single show that I do. I don't have everything exactly how I want it yet, and it never will be. It's a constant evolution and a constant learning process that you will never start if you don't start. So just getting out there and doing your first small event and learning and talking to other artists, you'll be surprised. As grumpy as some artists are super willing and super friendly and ready to help new artists out there.
I love that.
Yeah, other artists have been extremely supportive to me, and I have just become a giant sponge taking in their advice, and it has helped me immensely. And I completely agree with Evan. You're constantly adapting. I don't care how many years you're doing this, every show, you're constantly upgrading or adapting or changing something, but just don't give up. Keep going, be a sponge, learn from the people around you. They have a lot of years experience. Evan, your YouTube videos have been amazing for me. So all of you listening, check out Evan's YouTube. It's
I
very,
was going to
very
mention
helpful
that.
as a newer artist.
I just went ahead and dropped that in the chat. I was going to share that with everyone. I didn't know that we were having a international superstar on today, but no, I was able to look at Evan's social media. Very cool, very well produced, great information for fellow artists. So I dropped that in the chat, and we'll have that for those watching later in the webpage that you're on. One final question for you, Elaine, before we get into the live questions. What are some of the most common mistakes you see in vendors that hurt their success, or kind of that piece of advice you'd have to share over and over again as people get into this or grow?
First, they're exhibitors, not vendors. Vendors resell
Sorry,
products.
I
We are very strict on
apologize.
that one. Um,
Exhibitors.
they're always trying to imitate other exhibitors. My thing is, Bonnie hit on that. Don't give up. Whatever you do, don't give up. If you have a product, whether you're making sales or not, don't give up. Figure out what you're doing wrong that you need to correct, but don't try to be other artists. Our artists at Howard Allen events are amazingly informative. They help all the new artists. They give them great advice. But do what you do and what you love. Don't see somebody else doing better than you and then try to be them, because then you're just a cheap imitation of them. Be yourself, create your own work, and be original. And that's what's going to keep you on a growth, progress, instead of, continually trying new things, pick something, perfect it, and be really good at it. Be that person that you are known for. That Evan is known for his kite photography. Bonnie is known for her style of photography with the masks and the girls on the swing. She's known for it. Pick whatever you're really good at, but make sure it's something you enjoy. If you don't enjoy it, you're not going to put your heart and soul into it.
That's awesome. I think that's great advice. Well, really, really fantastic discussion here, guys. And I want to move us into the live Q&A. We do have quite a few questions, and we are running close on time. Again, I want to shout out to ACT Insurance, or Artists and Crafters Insurance, and Tradesmen Insurance. They have two awesome products specifically designed for artists, crafters, and tradesmen. ACT Pro, which is an ongoing policy, general liability policy, and ACT Go, which is event specific. So definitely go check them out, and we appreciate them putting on. We try not to include too much insurance information and plugs, but of course we tell, I'm sure you agree, Elaine, that you definitely want insurance to protect your business. It's a major important part. It's why you partnered with ACT. So thank you, ACT, for putting this on. And with that, we're going to jump into some questions here. So I thought this was very interesting. We were talking about pricing a lot, had some great information. This one came in. As we speak about pricing and communicating prices with confidence, which I think is great advice, I wonder the pros and cons between having tags next to the work with the title, size, price versus not having that information listed. Anybody have any insight they could jump in on that one?
Yeah, I've tried both, and for me, having the price clearly listed on a sign works best for me. I have a feeling that that's probably what works best for most artists. I would say if you walked around at an art show, well over 50% of artists tag their work with the price on it. Some don't and feel that it might meet their communication style better to have people ask them the price. But I would say for a majority of the artists, having the price clearly listed is the way to go. You're upfront about it. There's no hesitation when people may be uncomfortable about asking. This way, it's clearly stated. They know you're not just pulling a number out of your head. I had a few people, when I tried not having prices for a whole year, a couple times people were like, did you just make that up? Like, how do you know that? And I did have a binder that listed everything on paper, but I didn't display it. For me, having them listed works best. I think most artists will find that as well.
See, I'm on the other 50%. I don't list my prices. For me, I feel like it's a little bit more of a conversation. I did try the other way, listing prices, and I saw people sometimes run out the door. So a lot of times there are no prices, and they'll stand and they'll want to talk to me about it. And my prices are the same across the board. I do a square inch by $1 amount to come to that price. So if they ever say something like Evan said, well, were you just pulling that out of thin air? No, this is where I get my price. And to me, I just have a little different style. 50% maybe use prices, 50% don't. It's a very subjective thing, but that's my style. A little bit more communicating, talking with them, letting them know what they're getting for that price. My prices are large. They're a little expensive. Sometimes people get sticker shock. So it gives me some time to kind of let them know what went into that piece. And also, that I'm going to deliver it. It's fully framed. It's canvas, gallery style canvas, whatever sells your piece. But I'm
That's
on the other
interesting.
side.
Appreciate the insight on both.
Yeah, different
Mhm.
communication styles will be comfortable with different things. I'm glad that you don't, so that we have both perspectives, Bonnie.
Yeah.
Yeah. We kind of touched on this. Speaking of that, you just kind of hit on it as well, Bonnie. But this person asked, truly, how important do you believe is the story behind the creation of the piece as a part of it?
So important, so strongly important, especially as a painter. I paint one of a kind pieces. I don't do prints at all. So everything you see is hand painted. It comes from a special place within me. And when people hear the story behind it or the memory that is connected to it, I don't know, sometimes it just kind of it brings them to a place that I don't know. We just connect. There again is that the client and the artist connection. Sometimes that will sell a piece for me. Like Elaine said, popular blue tree that I have a lot of times brings people back to their childhood. They start reminiscing, So I think that connection, or they'll just. I've had people come in my booth and just cry because it just touched them so deeply. And to me, that's the greatest compliment, that my soul is reaching their soul. So I think that connection is huge, important.
Yeah. Awesome. I appreciate that. Anything else to add, Elaine or Evan, or feel the same that you got to kind of tell the story of the piece?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
think
agree.
it,
Whether
go ahead, Evan.
Sorry.
I was going to say whether people buy art because they have an emotional connection to it. It's different than the reasons people buy anything else for. And whether that emotional connection is what you actually intended or not is irrelevant. If it connects with them for a reason, it's like why some people connect with your favorite song. That might not be why the songwriter wrote the song, but it's what makes that song great for you. So the story is important, but the connection that the individual makes to the piece is paramount to anything else in buying art.
Quickly, this was an interesting question going on pricing. Do you usually include sales tax or add that on? What's your recommendation there? Anyone who wants to jump in?
My prices include sales tax and delivery, but again, it's a subjective thing. I guess Evan, what do you do?
I include delivery at a show, but not sales tax. Sales tax just because it changes from jurisdiction to jurisdiction so much that the price, I'll deliver it or ship it to them for that price that's at the show, or they can take it off the wall. But it doesn't include the sales tax.
Interesting. Elaine, anything you see across the board there, what you would recommend?
Everybody's different on it. I think it's great that we have two totally different sides on this. I do know people that put their pricing and I know people that don't put their pricing. And I think the biggest thing that they both connected on was the connection with the people. You have to connect. I have watched people buy a piece of art that wasn't the exact color, the exact size, or the exact intended piece that they were looking for because they fell in love with the artist and connected with that piece. So that is huge to do. Taxing, I think everybody does it differently, whether you want to include it in your price or whether you want to add it. Some people don't always charge tax when they pay cash. I mean, it all depends. It's what they're comfortable with.
Yeah. Interesting. So since we have you, Elaine, on this I think that's probably for you. Do event organizers care if I have a formal art education, online presence, or name recognition, or will they kind of admit me to a curated show based on the art itself?
We don't care who you are and where you came from. We care what you're bringing to the table. And that is really important. I mean, look at Bonnie. Her first, I joke around with this. The first time she asked me to critique her booth, I literally walked in and went, "Oh, pumpkin, we got to fix this." But it's just coming in with the ability to grow, the ability to expand. And being a quality artist doesn't always mean you know what you're doing yet. So no, we don't have to have a formal art. We love people who are self-taught because that's a self-expression. And we have art from every genre, every style, every level. We welcome it all because that's what makes the show. Because not everybody at the show is looking for a $20,000 piece. Some of them are looking for a $500 piece that they're going to cherish forever. So you have to have a variety.
That's great. And then I don't know if this is an appropriate question, but I'll ask, how much, in your opinion, how much money is too much money to jury in? We kind of talked about this. I didn't really know what jury in meant. Any opinions on the kind of pricing of jurying costs?
I think it's up to the individual who's applying and for what show they're applying. If you haven't gotten into a same show for 3 times in a row and it's a very high jury, I would keep my own jury fee. But also, if you get declined from a show or not invited to a show, do not be shy. Reach out to that show and say, hey, I was not invited to this show. I've applied twice. Could you please critique my booth? Can you please let me know whether my art is not quality for you or whether I need to change something? What would you recommend for me to qualify for your show? Most people don't do that and they should.
That's great advice. A lot of these questions now are a little bit specific to their businesses. Well, I know that's kind of like, for instance, we have, do you have suggestions, recommendation for bag or purse displays? Any thoughts there? I know that's not really Bonnie or Evan's
Yeah.
business.
I recommend that you display them on some type of shelving unit. I know Pro Panels has great shelving units. You can also do them if you have proper walls in the background. You can do them on something like a customized baker's rack. You can also do them on some type of table. And for us, we don't allow pop-up or drape tables, but like a sofa table type thing if you want to organize them on there. Purses with straps can be difficult. You can create some type of hook on your wall and let them hang from there. You can also send a note to our office, info@artfestival.com. We will happily send you suggestions. You can also go on where it says artist on our website and look where it says booth recommendations, display recommendations. That gives you ideas on how to display stuff.
That's awesome. I'll send this next person there as well, who was asking about the best way to display loose or matted prints. Probably go check that out as well.
Yeah, print bins, print properly displayed print bins, and do not put too many bins in your booth. That shouldn't be your market sales. I tell everyone, put the bins in the back, make them work for it. Make them walk through, Neiman Marcus to get to Kmart.
Mhm. And another one here is that, Bonnie, you could probably speak to this as well, but also Elaine. This person has large furniture pieces as well as wall pieces trying to fit into a 10 by 10 booth. Any recommendations?
Get a 10
Less
by
is
20.
more.
Get a
Less
10
is
by
more.
20. Go
Let's-
bigger. Get a 10 by 20. Do not try to cram all of that in a small space. If you need more space to spread that out and make it look good, get it double. Get a
My
double booth.
pieces are big. My pieces are, 5 to 7 foot, and I have to use a double. Otherwise, I'm getting up maybe 4 to 6 pieces. I mean, it's worth it. You want it to look like a gallery. You don't want it to feel crowded. You don't want it to feel messy. So to me, do the 10 by 20.
Sorry, I know we're running late here. Really quickly, I thought this was interesting for both Evan and Bonnie. Well, of course, for Elaine too. But do you see artists making online sales from art they leave at the studio? How do you encourage people to look at items that aren't there in person? Or do you do that at all?
Well, I can't hang and display every single photograph that's in
Right.
my current body of work right now. So if someone brings up something very specific, like, oh, if you had any photographs from Canada, I just love the Canadian Rockies. Well, I might not be showing my Canadian Rocky work in South Florida, but I have it. It's, I may have a small print of it that I could show them, but it's also on my website. They can go there and look through my entire inventory.
Yep, exactly what I was going to say. Strong website. Have a good gallery on your website that shows all of your work, not just the few pieces you were able to show at the festival.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm getting the time to wrap it up, guys. So we do have a few extra questions. I highly recommend shoot over those questions to the email that you got up for registering to this, and I'll direct them to our team here, and hopefully they can address it. But I just wanted to thank each one of you for joining us today. I know we went a little over time, so thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. What's funny I said about this is everybody on the panel besides me is on the road. We've got 2 people in a hotel and 1 in their van because these people work hard and are out there every day showcasing their work. So a huge thank you to you guys for joining us. Best of luck at your next show and to the entire audience, and thanks so much. Safe
Thank
travel.
you.
All right.
Thank you for doing this. This is a great opportunity. We really appreciate it.
No,
Yeah,
thank
thank you
you.
for having me. I appreciate it.
Of
Yes,
course.
thank you
All right,
guys
now
so
go
much.
follow everybody. All right,
Thank
bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.